We have seen your world. We have tasted your women. We want this world and are coming to invade. Beware.
Holy Halloween Special Batman! Hello everybody and welcome to this very special edition of Chat of Champions. I am Casey Strong. I am here to send you on a historical journey. That's right. We are going to discuss, or I am going to discuss, or tell you. I'm pretty much going to give you a run-through of the entire history of everyone's favorite holiday, which is just around the corner, Halloween. We all love Halloween. Candy, costumes, horror flicks. But it was once more symbolic than festive. I myself have learned that it's important. It's very, very fucking important to know the history of the things we all love. That's why I have compiled this massive history lecture. But, you know what? Don't think of it as boring. Don't think of it as boring at all, because I'm talking about our favorite fucking holiday. But you know what? If you don't like it, fuck you. Because this is fucking educational. Anyway, though the word Halloween is, the origin of the word Halloween is Christian, the holiday itself is commonly thought to have pagan roots. Historian Nicholas Rogers, exploring the origins of Halloween, notes that while some folklorists have dedicated its origins in the Roman feast of Pomona, the goddess of fruits and seeds, or in the festival of the dead called Parentalia, which it is more typically linked to the Celtic festival of Samhain, which comes from the Old Irish summer's end. Samhain was the first and most important of the 4 quarter days in the medieval Gaelic calendar. It was held on or about October 31st, and kindred festivals were held at the same time in other Celtic lands. For example, Brythonic Calan Gaeaf in Wales, Calan Suave in Cornwall, and Calan Gwenf, Gwenf, I think I said that right, in Brittany. Samhain is mentioned in some of the earliest Irish literature, and many important events in Irish mythology happened or began on Samhain. It marked the beginning of the harvest season and the beginning of winter or the darker half of the year. It was a time for stock taking and preparing for the cold winter ahead. Cattle were brought back down from the summer pastures and livestock were slaughtered. In much of the Gaelic world, bonfires were lit, and there were rituals involving them. Some of these rituals hint that they may have once involved human sacrifice. But that's one of the spooky aspects of Halloween. Blah! I don't know why I turned into Dracula for a second. I apologize. Divination games or rituals were done at Samhain. Samhain, like Beltane, which was a Gaelic festival celebrated in Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man, was seen as a time when the door to the other world, or Celtic realm of the dead, as it is also known, opened enough for the souls of the dead and other beings such as fairies to come into our world. The souls of the dead were said to return to their homes on Samhain. Feasts were had at which the souls of the dead kin were beckoned to attend, and a place was actually set for them. Lewis Spence, a Scottish journalist, described it as a feast of the dead and festivals of the fairies. However, this is kind of funny. Harmful spirits and fairies were also thought to be active at Samhain. People took steps to ally or ward off these harmful spirits and or fairies, which is thought to have influenced today's Halloween costumes, if you can believe that. Before the 20th century, wearing costumes at Samhain was done in parts of Ireland, Man, and the Scottish Highlands, and also Wales. All fucking over the place. Wearing costumes may have originated as a means of disguising oneself from these harmful spirits and or fairies, although some suggest that the custom comes from a Christian or Christianized belief. Christianized meaning, well, we'll talk all about the Christian beliefs here in a minute. These are, of course, the Celtic influences. So, enough about the Christian or Christianized belief. In Ireland, people went about before nightfall collecting for Samhain feasts, and sometimes wore costumes while doing so. In the 19th century, on Ireland's southern coast, a man dressed as a white mare, which is a type of horse which was considered the end of time savior in a lot of ancient mythologies, would lead children and teenagers, which nowadays would be very frowned upon, and he would have probably been arrested on the spot. But back in the when was this? The 19th century. It wasn't, of course, pedophilism. I'm sure that's probably not even a word, but it's a word now. Pedophilism. Put it in the dictionary. I just invented a brand new word. It probably existed back then, but wasn't really thought of. This strange man dressed as a white horse would lead these children and teenagers door to door collecting food, while, much like we collect candy door to door today. By giving them food, the household could expect good fortune from the Muc Ola, which is a Celtic god, pretty much. You know. In Moray during the 18th century, boys called at each house in their village asking for fuel for the Samhain bonfire. Trick-or-treating may thus have come from the custom of going door to door, collecting fuel and or Samhain offerings for the spirits and fairies and etc. Alternatively, it may have come from the Christian custom of souling, which we will definitely talk quite a bit about here in a few minutes. Let's see. The making of jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween may also have sprung from Samhain and Celtic beliefs. Turnip lanterns. Yeah, I said it. Just go ahead. Yeah, turnip lanterns. Depressing, isn't it? But I guess it's all they had. Sometimes with faces carved in them, were made on Samhain in the 19th century in parts of Ireland and the Scottish Highlands, as well as being used to light one's way while outside the Samhain night. They might also have been used to represent the spirits and fairies and or protect oneself and one's home from them. However, a Christian origin has also been proposed. Halloween is also believed to be influenced by the Christian holy days of All Saints' Day, or a religious President's Day of sorts, also known as All Hallows, Hallowmas, or Hallowtide. On November 1st and All Souls' Day on November 2nd. They were a time for honoring the saints and praying for recently departed the saints who had yet to reach heaven. So yeah, pretty much a very religious President's Day. That's exactly what it is. All Saints' Day, introduced in the year 609, but originally celebrated on May 13th in the year 1835, it was switched to November 1st, the same day as Samhain. Coincidence? I think not. At the behest of the Pope Gregory IV. Some have suggested this was due to Celtic influence, while others suggest it was a Germanic idea. Whatever the case, they were competing. I don't give a fuck. They're like we're gonna. It's pretty much a fucking an ancient version of the way people compete for publicity today. If you think about it, because they're like, I'm gonna put my religious holiday on the same fucking day as their religious holiday, so they will celebrate my religious holiday. Fuck the Samhain people and their Samhain day. Fuck them. I'm gonna fucking bring my All Saints Day because not only does it sound more prestigious, but it's more. But by our view, it's more credible. All right, I'll stop right there before I go any farther with that and possibly get myself in trouble. By the end of the 12th century, they had become holy days of obligation across Europe and involved such traditions as ringing bells for the souls in purgatory, souling, which I mentioned earlier, the custom of baking and sharing soul cakes, which is similar to like a modern spice cake or coffee cake. Might have nuts or raisins or, stuff added to it, but, pretty much the same general recipe as a modern day spice cake. For all christened and Christian souls, all christened and Christianed souls, which means recently baptized, has been suggested as the Christian origin for trick-or-treating. Groups of poor people, often children, would go door to door on All Saints' Day as well as All Souls, collecting soul cakes, originally as a means of praying for souls in purgatory. Similar practices for the souls of the dead were found as far south as Italy. Which is very fucking intriguing that the way some fucking things worked out. Also intriguing is the fact that Shakespeare mentions the practice in his comedy The Two Gentlemen of Verona. Two Gentlemen of Verona, which he wrote in 1593, when Speed accuses his master of puling like a beggar at Hallowmas. Puling meaning whining or crying. The custom of wearing costumes has been linked to All Saints and also Souls by Prince Sori Kante, who wrote, "It was traditionally believed that the souls of the departed wandered the earth until All Saints' Day and All Hallows' Eve provided one last chance for the dead to gain vengeance on their enemies before moving on to the next world. In order to avoid being recognized by any soul that might be seeking such vengeance, people would don masks or costumes to disguise their identities on the Halloween." Once again, very fucking intriguing and mind-blowing for me. Anyway, in Halloween, From Pagan Ritual to Party Night, Nicholas Rogers explains Halloween jack-o'-lanterns as originally being representations of souls in purgatory. In Britain, these come under attack during the Reformation as Protestants berated purgatory as a popish doctrine incompatible with the notion of predestination. So basically, they're saying that purgatory makes no sense as far as heaven and hell goes. I mean, if we're destined to go somewhere, then why the hell would there be a place where that is literally nothing? Which I guess makes sense in retrospect, if you really think about it. But this, coupled with the rising popularity of Guy Fawkes Night, which the premise behind Guy Fawkes Night was celebrated on November 5th. It was a celebration of a lynching of Guy Fawkes, pretty much. It was the day that King James I survived the assassination of Guy Fawkes. That was attempted by Guy Fawkes. So, coupled with the rising popularity of Guy Fawkes Night from 1605 onward, led to Halloween's popularity warning in Britain, with the noteworthy exception of Scotland. There and in Ireland, they had been celebrating Samhain and Halloween since at least the early Middle Ages. And the Scottish Kirk or church took a more pragmatic approach to Halloween, seeing it as important to the life cycle and rites of passage of communities, and thus ensuring its survival in the country. Which is pretty much the same way it is survived today. We all enjoy Halloween. We all feel a need to celebrate Halloween because it makes us feel good. It's something that it gives us something to look forward to every year, along with Christmas and the 4th of July and every other holiday that makes us feel good. Halloween is pretty much a darker version of that. It gives us the opportunity to let out our dark side, and it's okay. It's okay to want to watch scary movies, and or not that it's not okay to watch scary movies, but it's okay to glorify fear. And it's acceptable to go out on the street and dress up in some crazy costume. It's the one time a year that you can pretty much completely be yourself, or be whatever you want to be. If you want to dress up as fucking a zombie and go walk through town like it's The Walking Dead, and you can do that. That's what's so beautiful of Halloween, and it's so crazy how Americans took this thing that was so religious, and now it's just all about costumes and candy, and it's just been so blown out of proportion that the true principle of Halloween has been lost, and it is pretty much a celebration or a feast of getting together of sorts. But whatever, maybe I've just gone off into a tangent and I don't even know where I'm going. But anyway, we are at the point of Halloween spreading to North America. I don't know where I was going with that last little bit there, but Halloween spreads to North America like a fucking festive virus, man. North American almanacs of the 18th and early 19th century give no indication, however, that Halloween was recognized as a holiday there. The Puritans of New England, for example, maintained strong opposition to the holiday, and it was not until the mass Irish and Scottish immigration during the 19th century that the holiday was brought to North America in earnest. Confined to the immigrant communities during the mid-19th century, it was gradually assimilated into mainstream society, and by the first decade of the 20th century, it was being celebrated coast to coast by people of all social, racial, and religious backgrounds, because I guess Halloween, it doesn't matter how far back you go, it's always had some kind of special effect on people. Development of artifacts and symbols associated with Halloween have evolved over time. However, the turnip has been used in Ireland, as I covered before. Oh yeah, depressing. But immigrants to North America used the native pumpkin, which is much softer, much larger, making it easier to carve than a turnip. It is also much more physically impressive and less saddening than a turnip. Subsequently, the mass marketing of various sized pumpkins in autumn in both the corporate and local markets has made pumpkins universally available for this purpose. The American tradition of carving pumpkins is first recorded in 1837 and was originally associated with the harvest time in general, not becoming specifically associated with Halloween until the mid to late 19th century. The fucking iconic imagery of Halloween is derived from many sources, including national customs, work of Gothic and horror literature, such as the novels Frankenstein and Dracula, among many of other brilliant fucking works of art. And also classic horror films, such as The Wolfman and the Mummy. One of the earliest works on the subject of Halloween, however, is from Scottish poet John Mayne, who in 1780 made notes of pranks. That made note of pranks of Halloween. Quote, "What fearful pranks ensue?" Or, hold on, let me redo that. I'll put on a proper Scottish accent. Oh, that was bad. A proper Scottish accent. You know what? I'm not even going to try the Scottish accent. What fearful pranks ensue? That is how it's written. Fearful, which is a Scottish term. As well as supernatural associated with the night. Bogies, which are ghosts. Influencing a quite brilliant poem for the 17th century by Robert Burns entitled Halloween, which was written in published in 1785, and I actually have the first two paragraphs here for you. I was going to read you the whole thing, but it's incredibly long, and by the time I get to the end of these two paragraphs, you will realize why I didn't want to read you the whole thing. You would be very confused by the end of it. But I will put on my Irish accent.
Oh.
Stop doing these accents. But I'll do it justice. Halloween by Robert Burns, circa 1785. Upon that night, when fairies light on castless Donlands dance, o'er the lays in splendid blaze, on sprightly courses prance, or for the Colin the rout is tying beneath the moon's pale beams. There, up in the cave to stray and rove. Up in the cove to stray and rove, among the rocks and streams, to sport at night. Among the bonny winding banks, where Dorwin's wimpling clear, where Bruce once ruled the martial ranks, and shook his Carrick spear. Some merry friendly country folks together did convene, to burn their nets, to par their stocks, and hound their Halloween. Fu blithe that night. So there's your two paragraphs of that, and that is why I did not read the entire thing, which was probably 15 or 20 paragraphs. And I'm not exaggerating, that is actually fucking how long it is. Trick-or-treating, as I talked about before, originated in Ireland and Scotland, once known as guising, children disguised in costumes going door to door for food or coins. The practice of guising at Halloween in North America is first recorded in 1911, where a newspaper in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, reported children going guising around the neighborhood. Halloween costumes are traditionally modeled after, as we all know, supernatural figures such as monsters, ghosts, skeletons, witches, and devils. Over time, the costume selection is extended to include popular characters from fucking fiction, celebrities, ninjas, princesses, etc. Characters from our favorite movies. Batman. Costuming became popular for Halloween parties in the U.S. in the early 20th century, as often for adults as for children. The first mass-produced Halloween costumes appeared in stores in the 1930s when trick-or-treating was popular in the United States. Or I guess that would be when trick-or-treating became popular in the United States. As far as the games and activities that we all know and love, like bobbing for apples and shit, have to know where that comes from if you love that game. I personally don't. I think it's fucking stupid. Fuck that game. But, there are several games traditionally incorporated with the Halloween parties. Dunking or bobbing for apples, also called duking in Scotland. Duking. We're gonna do a little duking at the Samhain party. That's such an awesome word, duking. That game might be fun if it was called duking. This I don't like it because I don't like the idea of sticking your head. And if you don't know the game Bobbing for Apples, which you should, it requires you to stick your head in a fucking wash tub or whatever full of water with a bunch of fucking apples floating in it. And the object is to try to grab one with your fucking teeth. Now, some people probably love that game. I personally don't. I wanted to know who the fuck was responsible for this. I assumed it was like everything else. Incorporated with Halloween, it seems. I figured it was the Irish or the Scottish, but it turns out that they are not actually responsible for this. We have the Romans to thank for this. The practice is thought by some to have derived from the Roman practice in the celebration of Pomona, which I mentioned before, the god of fruitful seeds, or the goddess of fruits and seeds, or fruitful abundance in ancient Roman religion. A slightly different version of the game, which actually I would think would be more fun. You play this version by kneeling on a chair while holding a fork in your mouth. No, you don't stick your head in the fucking tub with the fork in your mouth. That would... and try to stab the apples. That would be silly. But you kneel on a chair above the wash tub and you try to drop the fork onto the apples and try to stick the apple with the fork. I don't know why, but to me, that sounds more fun. Another common game involves hanging up syrup-coated scones by strings. These must be eaten without using your hands while they remain attached to the string. This will obviously lead to a sticky fucking mess, which sounds like another game that I personally would not fucking enjoy. But you know what? I'd try it once. I'd try just about anything once to get me a syrup-covered scone. Sounds like it'd be good. Some games traditionally played at Halloween are forms of divination. A traditional Scottish form of divining one's future spouses was to carve an apple into one long strip, then toss the peel over your shoulder. Then the peel was believed to actually land in the shape of the first letter of the future spouse's name. Unmarried women were told that if they sat in a darkened room and gazed into a mirror on Halloween night, the face of their future husband would appear in the mirror. Which I immediately think of Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Remember that stupid bullshit that didn't work? Yes, I tried. Don't laugh at me. However, if they were destined to die before the wives, if they were looking into the mirror and they were destined to die before marriage, a skull would appear in the mirror, apparently. The custom was widespread enough to be commemorated and on greeting cards from the late 19th century and early 20th century. Another game or superstition that was enjoyed in the early 1900s involved walnut shells. People would actually write fortunes in milk on white paper. Yes, they would write fortunes in milk. You didn't hear me wrong. And they would do that on white paper. After drying, the paper was folded and placed in the walnut shells. When the shell was warmed, the milk would turn brown. Therefore, writing would appear, whatever they wrote would appear on what looked like the blank paper. Folks would also play fortune teller in order to play this game. Symbols were cut out of paper and placed in on a platter. Someone would enter a dark room and was ordered to put their hand on a piece of ice. They would be ordered to put their hand on a piece of ice and then lay their hand on the platter, and your fortune would supposedly stick to your hand. And they would have several different symbols, as I said, cut out on this platter. The symbols included a $, which was a sign for wealth, a button, which was a sign for bachelorhood, the thimble meant spinsterhood, the clothespin meant poverty, rice meant wedding, an umbrella meant a fantastic journey was in your future, a cauldron meant you were in a cauldron, like a witch's cauldron was meant you were in for some fucking trouble, and excuse me, a 4-leaf clover was intended for good luck. There would be a penny for fortune, a ring for early marriage, and a key for fame as well. Nowadays, we don't have any of that. When you think of Halloween, we think of horror, of course, the horror slasher movies, the ghost stories, haunted houses, and of course, everyone's favorite part of Halloween, the free candy. But it's obviously, as we've all just learned, much more than that. So, next time you think about Halloween, maybe you won't think of just free candy and fucking haunted houses. Of course, that's the fun part of Halloween, but that isn't everything about Halloween. There's actually a lot of history behind it, as we've all learned. I know I will have a completely different look on Halloween from now on, for sure. In addition to Halloween, that's pretty much it on the history for Halloween. Of Halloween. I hope you enjoyed this Halloween history lesson. There is no skit this week. Unfortunately, if you listen to my previous podcasts, I've prepared skits. In one, I wrote an entire long fucking story, and if you listen to it, you know all about it, of Batman battling Spider-Man, fucking interdimensional travel and crazy shit, and Batman losing his fucking mind, and all that kind of crazy shit is happening. I've enjoyed doing my Adam West impression so much that I've written these Batman stories. That's basically the premise behind these Batman stories, is because I love taking that Adam West Batman character, which, I just enjoy doing that character so much that I've created all these funny little stories involving that character. I sent him on a trip to the land of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He had to deal with your buddy Carl here. For some reason that freaking milkshake that lives next door to me I kicked him out of my pool for the 100th freaking time, and he called fucking Batman on me. You fucking believe that? Well, I unloaded on their asses, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I sent Batman to his fucking house, and shit went down. But anyway, I have created all these stories, and I have many more Batman stories I want to bring you. But I think it's time for you to send Batman on an epic journey. I want you to tweet me at CaseyStrong4. That's CASEYSTRONG 4. You can leave comments at youtube.com/Casey's Chat of Champions. That's KCS Chat of Champions 2. Don't forget the number 2 at the end of that. I know I always do. Fucking tweet me your ideas, man. If there's somewhere you want Gotham's Guardian to go that he's never been before, or somebody that he needs to fight in fisticuffs with that he has never encountered before, please send me your ideas, man. I want to hear from you. I want to know what the listeners are interested in, because, of course, without the listeners, there is no fucking show. But why should I tell you this? Why don't I let Batman himself tell you how much Batman needs you? Hello, fellow do-gooders and fellow podcast listeners. I fully recovered from my horrendous injuries I suffered on my last adventure. That's the last time I'd attempt to aid giant fast food. In any event, I'm good and ready for my next deadly encounter. I'm ready for any foe. Ready for any foe, you say? Let's see how you fare against me and my biceps once I get a hold of... What the hell was that? I just wanted to give you my favorite superhero a hug. You severed my genitals. It sounds like I just performed a great public service then, Mr. Schwarzenegger. You won't be fucking any more housekeepers anytime soon, now would you? So Batman needs you. And don't forget my young aide Robin, if you so wish. 'Cause I'm always ready to go fight crime with Batman. Or you could just kill him off too, in your mind, or in a story you might send me. Killing Robin is always fun, isn't it? Are you serious, Batman? No, I'm just fooling around, old chum. But seriously, you can kill him if you want to. Oh, shit, man. So I think that about wraps it up for this edition of Chat of Champions. Thank you for joining me here. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at CaseyStrong4, or go check out this edition of Chat of Champions, this special Halloween edition of Chat of Champions. And listen to all the previous and latest Chat of Champions at youtube.com/Casey's Chat of Champions 2. So, as always, with a great podcast comes great responsibility. Until next time, have a happy Halloween, folks.